I was like racking my brain thinking of what I could possibly film. I was like, I don't feel inspired. I don't feel like there's anything I really want to talk about right now. Then I realized I haven't filmed a Tumblr Tuesday in a few weeks, so here you go. If you're new to my channel, this is just the segment or type of video where I go into my Tumblr inbox, which I very rarely go through and answer questions actually on Tumblr with, and I just take some of the questions that interest me and I answer them here for you. Where do you get crystals? So this is probably in reference to the previous video that I posted, and it was all about self-love and self-love routine, and in it I featured some crystals that I recently bought. I got my crystals from Whole Foods. They just sold them in the whole body section, so I picked it up, and I also picked up some essential oils to go with it, and that's how I started my collection. You can also buy crystals like on Amazon or on Etsy. Like, you can get them anywhere online. I'm pretty sure there are dedicated websites just to crystals online, but the most important thing is don't spend $1 million on it. I can't name any websites off the top of my head right now that sells crystals, but I'm gonna put some in the description down below that I find after this video, so if you're interested in buying crystals, then go click on those links down below. Spring of next year, I have quite a lot of traveling planned. Costa Rica, Italy, and Taiwan. That sounds amazing. Do you have any tips to save money to travel? I'm really bad at spending money on lots of good vegan food and stuff I don't need. If you have traveled by yourself before, then you definitely know the woes of budgeting. It can seem overwhelming because you have a million things to think about. You have to think about transportation, you have to think about food, accommodation, and just doing activities in that city or place you're visiting. I've made a video completely dedicated to how to save money for travel, which I will link somewhere around here and also down below. And recently I did a 2-part Q&A series in which I talked about travel and how to save money. So I will also link part 1 here, part 2 here, and also put them down below. But just because I am currently planning a road trip for the summer on top of tons of other road trips, but like one huge 3-week road trip, I have been thinking so much about budgeting and money and how I'm gonna be able to cut costs. And I'm actually pulling out that sheet now. This is my road trip plan with my friend Charlotte for August. What we did was we actually made a section on the back in which we put down housing, food, transport, and other expenses. We basically just listed out all of the things that we're gonna need to spend money on, and we thought about everything. So for housing, thankfully because we have friends who live in the places that we're visiting, we hardly have to spend any money on accommodation. The only place we have to spend money on accommodation for is Niagara Falls, and we put away $40 for that because that's how much the Airbnb is gonna cost for those 2 nights. We also have a section with food. What I did was I wrote out a basic itinerary of everything we're doing, and then I went through and I thought about, okay, where are we gonna eat breakfast on these days? Where are we gonna eat lunch and dinner? When can we cook at home? What can we get from the grocery store to just make by ourselves? Like, thinking about all those things. So I added that all up and then came up with a grand total for the food. Transport, I thought about everything from gas money to subway money to buses or trains, any transportation we're gonna have to take, and that also includes like parking fees. And then lastly, there's a category with other expenses. So in there so far I have thrift shopping, souvenirs. So there's probably gonna be more for that. So I'm not gonna be going through the entire plan of my road trip, at least not in this video. But my whole point of sharing this is that if you break it up into those 4 categories, housing, food, transport, and other expenses, and you really make a solid itinerary and think about everything you're gonna have to spend money on, once you have that list, you can go through and you can nitpick and say, oh, I can cut this here and I can cut this here to save money. So like, if you're going into these trips that you're planning, like Costa Rica and Taiwan and all those places, and you're kind of blindly stepping in and you're just saying, oh, I'm gonna spend money on everything I want and blah blah blah, that's all good and fun to think that we're capable of that, but at the end of the day, you know, Charlotte and I made a pact. If one of us wants to buy a ridiculously priced $10 juice instead of just going to the grocery store and spending $1 or $2 to make a rice and vegetable dinner, then like, you need to be able to hold yourself back from that. At the end of the day, you're not gonna remember the $10 juice that you bought on your trip, you're going to remember all of the memories. When you're traveling, food other than like ethnic food from the place that you're going to, food is simply a way to continue fueling your body and keep you going. That's the same thing with the excess money that you spend on things like clothes and souvenirs. What is like the very few things that you need to get? You need to think about these things before you go so that when you actually start traveling, you're not overwhelmed with the possibilities of everything you could be buying. And before I finish answering this question, I'm also gonna add in that you should keep all of your receipts, think about how much money you're spending each day, get like a booklet with a paper clip to put those in, and then also just constantly be reevaluating how much money you're spending on your trip once you've made like your prior outline. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say for that one because this road trip still needs to be planned and I've made enough videos about this in the past. Any advice on what to do after ending toxic friendships? I have no one to hang out with anymore. All my best friends are far away at other colleges. Again, I've made numerous videos about ending toxic relationships, but what I will say about this topic is that you will attract the correct friends, the correct people into your life if you are comfortable with yourself and if you are emitting the energy that you want to get back. I did not make my best friends until I decided fully and wholeheartedly to live my life in the way that I wanted to live it. That was the moment that I met all of my greatest friends and the people that I talk to every single day and honestly cannot go a single day without speaking to. You know, a couple years ago I had no idea that these people existed or wanted to be my friend or could possibly be my friend, but now I talk to them every single day and I can't imagine my life without them. But it's worth saying that I didn't jump immediately from my old high school friend group to these people. It took years and years to get to this point. There were so many times and still are so many times when I do not physically have friends with me, or I feel alone, or I feel unimportant or unloved, and that's just normal, and that's something that you personally need to learn to cope with because what works for me may not work for you. But at the end of the day, you do need to work on yourself and work on the energy you're putting out and how much you love yourself to get the friendships back that you want. Your photos always come out so nice. What kind of camera do you use? Okay, I think this is the most pointless question to answer. One, because at any given time, the camera that I use and the lens that I use are given in the description down below. Not only here, but on my Tumblr, on my Instagram, everywhere. I always say what camera I use, but no matter how many times I say it, I constantly am bombarded with questions asking what camera I'm using. This is what my camera looks like right here. Yes, you see it? Good. It is a Canon Rebel T3i, which is not the most recent one. The Canon Rebel T5i is the most recent of that generation or series of cameras, but I use the Canon Rebel T3i and I have an 18 to 135, or however you say that, 18-135 millimeter lens. That's all I'm gonna say about that. That is what I use for everything from filming to photography, except occasionally I'll use my phone. Okay? Yep, that's it. Good. God, I'm so sick of answering that question. Thanks so much for watching. I really, really appreciate it. There will be a new video on Thursday. I don't know what it'll be, but there will be a new video and hopefully a new Saturday video, but I can't promise anything. Also, I've been thinking about doing some sort of like live broadcast or questionnaire, live questionnaire, whatever, on YouTube. If you guys are interested in that, let me know in the comments down below. Like, I really, really want to do it, but I want to make sure that there's an audience for it and that people would genuinely be interested, or if it would just kind of be a waste of all of our time. So if you'd be interested in seeing a live Q&A sort of thing where you can leave your questions and I'll answer them as they come in, tell me down below. If not, that's so okay. Like, I completely understand. But yeah, okay, again, I'm gonna go. This video's gone on long enough. Thank you for watching. I will speak to you later and have a great night.